I'm not gonna lie guys, I was about one play session away from this video singing a far worse tune. Despite the title of this video, I actually think that Grey Zone Warfare has a lot of potential to be a great game for the extraction shooter enthusiasts of you out there. But the first couple of days I had with the game led to an unplayable, technically unsound experience that I would even argue wasn't fit for the early access tag that it's been slapped with, which is a can of worms that I'll open later in the video. But thankfully, my experience with the game has shifted for the better today, which has changed my views slightly. G'day there once again viewers, your mate Kamikaze78 here, and today, let's have a chat about Grey Zone Warfare and the slippery slope that can be early access releases. So folks, before we go any further, I must admit that the release timing of Grey Zone Warfare right after Escape from Tarkov had its little blunder of epic proportions is comedic and, if not, slightly coincidental. But I'm not going to sit here and suggest that Grey Zone Warfare's developers pushed the game out in response to Tarkov's questionable decisions to cash in on the epic fail. Games and their releases take months of planning, so the timing is purely coincidental, and it's almost poetic, if you will, for Grey Zone Warfare to have released right after Escape from Tarkov decided to have a little oopsie-daisy. But that's all it is to my mind, coincidental. So to those of you out here saying that they rushed the game to cash in on the destabilized Tarkov audience, just pull your head out, right? I have complaints about Grey Zone Warfare that you're going to hear about shortly, but this ain't one of them. I just wanted to clear that up before something like that comes up in the comment section. I'm also ill with COVID at the time of recording this video too, guys, so if I sound a little, unhealthy, you would know why. But no folks, Grey Zone Warfare is here in early access and has been a long-awaited competitor to enter the PvEVP extraction shooter market. I remembered when I started to first see media and videos about this game coming out, and the hype built pretty quickly, and rightfully so. The game, even in its early access form, presents itself very well with stunning visuals. The level design is incredible, the models look really good, and the various lighting and particle effects look fantastic on the surface. And that's a huge tick for the game on that front. It visually presents itself very well. And as far as the game's premise is concerned, I like what's going on here. We have a giant open world with a heavy focus on PvE-based questing and task completion, but 3 player-controlled factions that all roam the map freely, where there is scope for organic PvP action as well. Every faction has a base camp to which you'll insert yourself into the map at multiple points of your choosing to begin completing quests and doing operations, which is really cool. And I'll be honest, flying into the map via the little birds makes for a pretty nifty experience, at least for the first few attempts, that is. You get this very seamless and cinematic experience of going from your base camp where your stash is located and all that stuff into the action. And, you know, unlike Tarkov where you're literally sitting in there in a queue waiting to get into a raid, you're literally going from point A to point B live in the game world. And that's nice. It's a nice little piece of wonder that is added to the game. Now, whether this quote-unquote wonder of the experience will rub off as a bit tedious at one point is possible too, but the seamless nature of moving to and fro objectives between different exfil points is definitely a nice touch. And yeah, I think the game has enough building blocks here to really go, yeah, there's some potential here, there's a future for this game if the developers can action it. They've also got a lengthy roadmap outlined on the Steam store page at the moment that indicates all of the features they're planning to add in the future. And again, everything listed is what I would come to expect from a fully fleshed out PvEVP extraction shooter. However, those are all promises and not actually in the game right now, and this is where we come to the point in the video where I unfortunately have not many nice things to say about Grey Zone Warfare in its current state of play. As far as being a game and rather than a proof of concept, Grey Zone Warfare has a long way to go to be worthy of its initial asking price to the mass player base, let alone its asking price of its current DLC upgrades. From a technical perspective, the game just doesn't meet the value to money ratio right now. The actual performance in the game, as has been reported by a large percentage of the player base, is rough as guts. Many players, even on decent spec systems like myself, are reporting and requiring to drop their settings by a big margin to get the game to an even playable state when it comes to FPS. The server stability is just terrible, quite frankly. I have been DC'd from multiple servers multiple times mid-raid, sometimes leading to me losing all of my gear and having to buy more, and I've also been prone to rubber banding more than I'd like to admit as well. And this rubber banding, more often than not, happens to an unplayable degree, and it basically sees sees me lagging in and out of cover, unable to play the game in the tactical and precise way the game demands it. The game's AI also feels incredibly inconsistent at best. They aggro on you inconsistently, they have strange reactions to taking fire sometimes, and even more so will take more than one shot to the head where it just doesn't make sense. These guys are not wearing armor, they're not wearing anything that would be able to stop a bullet per se, yet I'll hit them multiple times in the face and they keep coming at me. And the audioscape in this game, guys, is, I'm just going to come out and say it, one of the worst I've had the mispleasure of experiencing in FPS games to this date. Gunfire has no difference in audio, whether it is 10 meters or 100 meters away from you. Footsteps other than your own are basically a no-show, and AI voices have one setting and one setting only, whispering, even if they are right next to you, despite the fact that they are very clearly using voice lines that are meant to be shouting. I've had AI sneak up on me through shrubbery that I just walked through where I made a shit ton of noise on my end. Like seriously, if you thought Escape from Tarkov's audio was bad, this game puts it up on the pedestal comparatively. The game's UI is also intrinsically laggy, is missing a lot of quality of life features, and just lacks to bring a smooth experience to navigating the menus. Now, don't get me wrong, guys, the groundwork for the game is there. That much cannot be denied. It's clear that a lot of work is going on to making sure that the core systems and mechanics are in place to build the game off of, to which I appreciate, and I look forward to seeing this game fleshed out more. But a lot of fleshing out needs to happen before this game is even coming close to being worth its asking price as a game. And before anyone here says it, yes, I know the game is in early access right now. This is far from the final product, and that much more work is yet to happen to bring the game up to that standard that we are expecting to see from games these days. That isn't lost on me. But as a bit of commentary on the conversation I've seen surrounding this game as of late, the early access title does not excuse the game from very valid criticism. The moment your game goes on sale and demands that users spend real money to access it is also the same moment it opens itself up to any and all criticism that your players may have about the game's value for money offering, and whether or not the game actually works at its core. I have seen a wide variety of early access releases out there and the different kinds of approaches that developers take with the early access tag. You know, you see the use cases of developers using the period to test their games that are well along within the development cycle and are just getting over the final hurdles. And then you've got the developers who, I would argue, almost use the early access tag as a Kickstarter for their project, getting testers into the game at an early stage through sales to further fund the project and the development. Make no mistake, right now, if you buy into Greyzone Warfare, you are essentially making a Kickstarter backing into a passion project. It's in a bare bones state, a concept rather than a complete game that, if compared against the broader industry, comes up short in most every place. And unless you are deeply passionate about Greyzone Warfare and what it promises, keyword there being promises, to be in the future, I would urge you caution for putting your hard-earned dollars towards the game right now. By buying into it now, you are very much supporting the idea of the game rather than a game itself, and the vision that these developers have. And if that's what you want to do with your hard-earned money, then all power to you. It's your money, I'm not going to knock you for doing it, but there are people out there blindly defending a game with the common quote of, "It's early access, bro, of course there's going to be issues," as a response to every complaint that is brought up in the negative Steam reviews so far, and that is far from helpful. Again, the moment your game goes public and charges money for access, it is a product on a shelf. It is very much subject to that feedback, and Greyzone Warfare or any early access game is no exception. Obviously, there's a give and take here, right? With the early access tag attached to it, there needs to be an understanding from gamers that what you are getting is an in-development product, a beta test, if you will. But it's still a product the moment money is charged. And given that early access can mean so many different things out there, I feel like it's my responsibility as a content creator to give you the appropriate heads up, if you will, to a potential buyer. This game is not worth its asking price as of yet, unless you are jumping in to be a part of the journey of development, plain and simple. And just to clarify, because I know it's going to come up, that's not to say it won't be worth that purchasing price one day, just not right now. And as I say all that, I'm genuinely hoping that the game makes the strides it needs in the right direction to be a really great game. I want more competition in the extraction shooter PvEBP gaming space. I really want to see more of it. And Grey Zone Warfare is perfectly slated to be that competition if the developers can get through on it. It's just that technically, the game is not really what I would argue to be a good game as of yet. And because it's been appropriately listed as an early access game, I'm giving it a bit of slack here. But if this came out today in its full form and this was called a non-early access release, then there would be hell to pay for this kind of state. And in the meantime, I'll be watching the game with very keen eyes, watching its development, doing YouTube content on it as it develops to see how it goes and see that it becomes the game that we all want Grey Zone Warfare to be. But folks, with all of that said, that does wrap up today's video. I would love to hear from you guys in the comment section down below as to what your thoughts are about Grey Zone Warfare. Do you think it's got potential? Do you think it is the biggest waste of money for the year in gaming, or do you think we are up for the next hit? Let me know down below. If you enjoyed the video, guys, a backhand of the like button would go a long way to supporting the channel as well, and subscribe if you're new here. Stay up to date with all future video releases. We're doing a lot of first-person shooter content here on the channel, and I'd love to have you part of the community. Once again, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Peace out, and I will catch you guys all in the next one. Take care, guys. Have a good one.